like the number one reason why I get debt free is because I know what I want and I don't blindly
Mm.
spend anymore. Everything that I purchase now is intentional. When it's really clear for you how your dream life looks like, the rest is just noise. You journal and then you
Yeah.
realize like everything that you wished for, you're kind of now living the dream life. One of the best coaching experiences that I've received.
Welcome everyone to my YouTube channel, and I'm so excited to bring in another amazing client of mine who is Tish. And fun fact, we've been working together for like a year now, and it's great to have her here to share literally her journey from the start to where she is now, because she came from completely paying off her debts to funding her dream wedding with zero debt to achieving six-figure savings and now being a confident money manager of her household. Like, mind blowing, right? So I'm so excited to bring her in, and to spice it up, we're going to do it as a truth and drink style, like last video, so that we're going to sip on our favorite drinks while we share some truth bombs. So, Tish, come in, say hello.
Hi, hello everyone. Hello to all Coach Nick's viewers. I'm one of them, so yeah.
I love it. All right, so let's get into it. So to paint a picture of where you've started, tell us like how was it like handling your finances before, and what has significantly changed since you've joined my programs?
I think a lot of people can relate to me when I say that I've tried everything. I literally tried everything. I started actually with manually listing everything down, like to the T. Like I would buy banana Q, 10 pesos, I would put it in my notebook, or and then eventually it evolved into a notes app in my phone. And then obviously since it's too much, I would say, like every when you take note of every single penny that you spend, it becomes too much and it becomes tiring, and then you know what happens when we get tired, we stop doing it. So obviously that didn't work, and then eventually I evolved into an Excel sheet, and then I don't know how to make my own, or parang I knew how to make but I didn't want to make mine from scratch. So what I would do is I would watch all these other gurus on YouTube and all the other platforms, download their freebies, and then I would download everything. And of course, syempre, iba-iba sila ng mga styles. So parang na-confuse lang ako lalo. Tapos masyado lang akong na-stress na, oh my gosh, it's not working. So I stopped that. And then eventually I downloaded all these apps. And then it just became so overwhelming. So that's how it looked like before. I was trying so hard to put a system in my money in how I manage money. And honestly, it's very frustrating because, I've tried everything. It's not like I did it. It's not like I just kind of,
Mm.
like said, na, okay, bahala na. I tried so hard to get it on track, but it didn't work. So it was so frustrating. But thankfully, right now, I am working on a very simple system. It's very simple that I don't really have to, like record in the sense I'm technically recording everything, but not like every single peso centavo that comes in or out. And I'd like to say that the system that I have now is very sustainable. It's something that's easy to do, and at the same time very very reliable also, because I think that's also one of the things na the reason why I did not think about simplifying my finances was because I thought it was supposed to be complicated. Like feeling ko, pag masyadong madali, it might not be working. Like I might be missing out something because it's not supposed to be easy. But then, yeah, I realized na it can be easy and it does work. So I guess that's one of the major realizations that I got after going through the first phase. Because Coach Nick mentioned that we're working for almost a year or more than a year, parang ganon. So
Mm.
I went to three phases of Coach Nick's program. So it's the money mindset. I forget the title of your
Fund your
program.
freedom pa rin. Fund
Fund
your
Your
freedom, yeah.
Freedom, the one in one, and then I went to the group, and then now I forget what this is called, but this is like the 6 month container that she has. So yun. So in the very first container that I've been in, yun yung parang isa sa major downloads ko from that experience. Yeah.
I love that you were able to like consider it as phases, because I also saw like how you were able to achieve different goals and have different shifts in your life for every phase that we've been through together. And truly at the start, it was like, is it really this simple? Like, I've been complicating it pala all my life. And truly, it's because I came from that place na parang, as you said, like, I'm just smiling because literally, as I've shared, like, I've done all of that also. And it's like, what's frustrating is not that it's not working. What's frustrating is you know that you're trying and it's
Yeah.
still like, what's wrong with me? Like, it goes
Yeah.
back to that. And then because you're frustrated within yourself, you just go back to the same things that you don't want to do because you're like, ito na lang eh. Ito dito ako masaya eh. Diba? Parang ganon.
Yeah.
It's not that you're not trying, it's just that maybe there's something that needs to be more simplified. Like even in my programs, when I decided to do that simplified system, I swear I had to look at it again and again. I'm just like, was it really this simple? Was it really this simple? Like, yeah, I remember that was one of the things that stuck out from me after you graduated from the first phase, which is fund your freedom, which I have now
Yeah.
extended to a one-on-one and group. So kinumbine ko yung first
Oh.
two phases mo.
Wow, I
Kinumbine ko
love
siya.
that. Okay.
One-on-one and then group. What I love out when you shared like your wins from that, you're like, I can easily stick to this without sacrificing anything, without not going to Starbucks and not buying the things I want. So let's go
Yeah.
into that. I think that's
Okay.
juicy. So
Yeah.
what were those biggest misconceptions that you thought were true around money that turns out na weren't true, that you wish you knew earlier so you didn't keep believing them?
Yeah, first thing that comes into mind is the sacrifice now, enjoy later kind of thing. And okay, I get it. Delayed gratification is a thing, but you know how a lot of people kind of make a big deal out of the Starbucks drink that we buy, and then
Mm.
people would make all these kinds of content na okay, like you spend 175 pesos for a coffee drink, and then if you multiply that by 5, because like 5 working days in a week, that's like X pesos. And then if you multiply that by a month, it's like X pesos. And if you multiply that by a year, you're basically saving this much if you're just gonna get rid of that. But like coming into terms with all the money systems and all the bigger picture things, that Starbucks drink is very small. Let's say, okay, it really accumulates in the end, pero it's not really that much of a big deal. And then I guess like I really want to reiterate yung sacrifice now, enjoy later kind of misconception, because um I'm not sure if it's just me. I'm pretty sure like or maybe some of the people also feel this, but you know how when you restrict yourself, all the more you fall in off of the wagon. So I guess number one for me was my own happiness. So whenever I feel like I'm not happy anymore, I can no longer sustain it. You know, like okay, I know that I can make my own coffee at home, or like I can save up whatever amount I could save up, but ultimately if that's not what's making you happy, I think it's also a cultural thing that we really have to sacrifice. Kailangan mag-sacrifice for the future, ganyan, to the point that it doesn't make sense
Mm.
anymore. And there's so many things that I could relate to it. Another thing that that I have in mind is when we graduate from school, and then when we have our first job, we are always being told to mag-invest ka kagad.
Insurance ka agad.
Yeah,
Mga
mag-insurance
ganyan.
ka kagad without really knowing na what it's for or ano yung magiging impact niya. Like obviously having an insurance is good, but then if you don't really understand like the bigger picture aspect of it, it's not gonna work. I mean, okay, it's gonna work, but like it's gonna be difficult for you to set aside that certain amount of money each month, and you're gonna feel robbed instead of investing. When all these kinds of realizations came into me, it all made sense. We are very conditioned into the sacrifice kind mentality. Now we don't think about ourselves. And then ultimately, when I come to think of it, the reason why nothing is working is because we're not happy. And parang it's
Mm.
so weird na we're not focusing, or we're not taking ourselves into consideration. Parang ito na yung sistema yan na yung nag-work. So bakit why would you deviate pa from that? Parang ganon. And I guess that's one of the major validations also that I got, na just because I want to focus on my own happiness, parang doesn't mean that you're not being responsible with your money. Na-realize ko nga na because now I am more focused on my own happiness, or what makes me happy, what contributes to like how I want to live my life, parang mas nagpo-fall siya into place. Okay, I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest, because obviously I have my own investments also, but now that I understand what it's for, and parang you get a full picture appreciation of it, hindi mo na feel na, okay, because my husband, sorry, nilaglag ko yung husband ko. Because my husband feels this. So he before we got married, he also has his own set of investments, and then every quarterly kasi niya yata binabayaran yung mga investments niya. So like every
Uh-huh.
quarter, he's like, ito na naman, parang magbabayad na naman ako, ganyan. So parang, isn't that we invest in the future to feel good about ourselves, to feel secure,
Mm.
parang ganon. So parang, it's really like you need to have a bigger picture, or like an idea of the bigger picture, see what it's for, see how it impacts you, and then parang it's like the
Mm-hmm.
foundation of how things start falling in place when you start, like knowing what it is that you want, and when you realize how much it really impacts you. So all that being said, the main misconception that I feel like is stemmed to so many misconceptions also is yung the idea of sacrifice, and yung, yeah, kasi parang that's, I feel like that's also one of the reasons why we spiral. Alam mo yung parang,
Mm.
even with like shopping,
Yep.
one of my favorite examples na lagi mo din ginagamit, coach, sa mga examples mo is yung deleting the Lazada and Shopee
Mm-hmm.
apps. Parang you can always download it again.
Yeah.
And parang sometimes you go clean for 1 or 2 months, hindi ka shopping for 1 or 2 months. Pero when that itch comes back, parang yun nga, nag-relapse ka, parang ganon. Because the foundation wasn't strong. Parang it really
Mm-hmm.
boils down into that.
I mean, you released so many truth bombs that like they're so important. And you guys, you heard it here first from my client that we don't talk about sacrificing here. We don't talk about depriving ourselves. We don't talk about like pressuring ourselves to invest because that's
Yeah.
never sustainable because we've literally been through that. Nah, it's just
Yeah.
not sustainable. And if anything, that's always been my goal. And that's what I've seen in you and all of my clients is that really seeing how can you live a sustainable life. And having a sustainable life comes with having a sustainable financial system. Because like there's always gonna be do you always want that there's always gonna be this push or pull na parang no I shouldn't no I no deserve ko to yung constant like
Yeah.
mental struggle is like taking up so much of your energy. And I wanted to bring up what you said na being responsible. I think there's kind of a especially in the Filipino culture no parang when you say responsible it kind of seems like a boring thing like it's a
Parang
chore.
martyr
Oh,
yung
like
naiisip ko
sacrifice.
lagi. Yeah, sacrifice talaga.
Yeah.
It's such a big thing. Parang, if makikita ka ng mga tao na nag-enjoy, alam mo yung mga side remarks na, siguro
Mm.
wala yung savings. Yung mga ganon. Like, dude.
Buti pa siya, parang sana all. Yung mga gan ako kasi madami ako
Oo.
responsibilities.
Oo. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like we equate being responsible to being a martyr or being sacrificial. And I think that
Yeah.
in itself is a mindset that we need to break, that we are breaking. Because what if we can do both? That we get to like be happy, as you said, with our decisions and at the same time feel good that I'm investing in this for my future.
Yeah, and I want to go back also to when I started the program. So, okay, full transparency, I signed up into Coach Nick's program because I needed help with my finances, obviously. So, even if I don't really know how she does the program, or like how she explicitly does the program, I kind of have this idea in my head na
Mm-hmm.
parang, okay, so we're gonna deal with our finances. Siguro she's gonna ask me, she's gonna make me list down all my finances, and then we're gonna pinpoint which one we're gonna remove, or parang ganon. But then I was so surprised. um First session, she asked me, how does your dream life look like? And I'm like, why is she asking me this? Why is she not asking me like all the other, like where my expenses go, ganyan? And now that I'm thinking about it, or now that I'm in the third phase of our coaching, it that parang it made so much sense. Na you start with what makes you happy. You start with what feels right for you, and then that's where everything else stems out. That's where the rest stems out. So when Coach Nick said that in the program we don't encourage sacrificing, it's because money shouldn't all be about sacrificing, or like, saving up, or being, yeah, yun nga, tying back to what you said, being responsible should not be equivalent to sacrifice, or should not, it doesn't have to be painful. You
Yeah.
can enjoy while being responsible. And I guess that was also something that it took me a while to wrap my head around, because third session and I'm still like, what is going on? We're still talking about my dream life. Pero game na game naman ako to talk about my dream life. And then eventually, it all made sense. Like, parang I guess to kind of share with your listeners or your viewers more how impactful being asked that question is because when it's really clear for you how your dream life looks like, the rest is just noise. So you know how I used to spend a lot of money on courses because I'm a business owner, so I spend most of the things that I spend on are tools, courses, like trying to level up the business and stuff. And obviously, not everything is good for my business. Parang yung iba, wala lang. Hindi naman for fun, pero, like they're not really necessary for my business and I just want to buy them. So when I started having a clear picture of how I want my dream life to look like, it was very easy for me to remove everything else that did not align with it. So the Starbucks coffee is aligned because I need my caffeine and sugar fix. So I didn't have to remove that. And I didn't feel bad na I'm spending X thousands of money per month on coffee because I know na it contributes to my dream life. So yeah, like what I've been saying over and over, like when you know how you want to live your life and you know what makes you happy, the rest just kind of follows and it's easier for you to make your decisions from there. And eventually it made sense to me why we had to start with defining how your dream life looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. Guys, Tish basically like summed up like how I do my process. It's in like few sentences. I love
As an
it.
ambassador. Just kidding.
Sabi ko nga si Tish is like my brand ambassador because we worked together since 2021 and then here now in
Yeah.
2023. And it's always been such a pleasure like seeing that growth, right? And going back to what you shared, it's like when you're clear on what truly makes you happy, what you truly want, that's really the missing puzzle piece that we ignore when we become adults. Because when we become adults, we're
Yeah.
like, I have to be responsible. I have to save.
Yeah.
I have to look at my expenses. And honestly, like growing up, we probably didn't get to be asked that. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
Because most of the time it's
Yeah.
like we are expected to do something that other people already done, or like what our parents want, what our family wants, what our colleagues think we are, and all of that. And that's why it's such a powerful journey to really discover like this is what my version of success is, this is really what happiness looks like to me, this is really how my dream life looks like. And what happens is that you, when you're firm with what you believe makes you happy, when you're firm on what you truly want, it's easy to say no to what doesn't add value to that. Truly, when you got crystal clear on that, that really became, and from what I saw, was the pivotal moment where you were able to be like, oh, I could literally pay off my debts now. Like, I can do this. So, walk me through that. Like, what do you think ultimately got you to that phase where you I can still remember that. You're like, Coach, ito na, zero na yung debts ko. Grabe, like, I can't believe it. Like, what do you think ultimately got you there and allowed you to stay debt free?
Honestly, like when I got into the program, I thought that that was what we're going to do head on. Like we're gonna start like doing all these payment plans or like how we could crunch these numbers to make like the debt go away or something. But yeah, again, like as I mentioned earlier, it made more sense when you know what you want and everything. So okay, like how it was for me paying it off, to be honest, it was very scary for me. I was faced with the fact that the only thing that was hindering me from the dream life that I wanted was this obstacle or this thing. So parang I felt like I also opened a Pandora's box and I realized that the reason why it was difficult for me to pay it off because there was also this thing in me where it was difficult for me to let go of money. You know how it's it was physically painful when I
Feel ko nga,
had
you're like, parang you're like reminiscing the feelings.
yeah. I remember
Mm.
messaging you while I was transferring money
Yeah, you
to the
did.
thing and I'm like, Coach, bakit ganito? Bakit like it was physically painful and then parang we tend to have this thing where we try to hold on to money without realizing na when you finally let go and like deal with it, that was the only thing that was keeping me from doing the things that I loved. And I remember also
Mm.
telling Coach na I was able to finish paying everything off, I think in 2 months lang. Because I remember sorry. I remember there was a time coach was like, how much is in your bank account? And I'm like, oh my god, this much. And then she said, okay, so if you're not gonna use that money to pay for this, then this is gonna increase some more and something like that. And I'm like, oh nga naman. Pero like when I was there doing the exact thing na, parang it was physically painful. And then when I paid for it na, I felt yung parang nabunutan ng tinik na parang what I thought is that once I pay it off, it's gonna be like, okay, done and dusted. But when I paid it off, it was of of I felt relief, and at the same time, parang it made me see all the possibilities that I could start doing now that that part of it was already taken care of. And yeah, it was mind blowing for me because in just 2 months we were able to do that. And then everything was so obvious. It was so weird. Parang the answers were literally right in front of me, and it was just all in my head. I think yun yung painful for me because it was obvious, and then the answers were inside me or within me all along, but then I didn't see it. And I guess I'm very grateful because I was being coached properly into it, like I wasn't blindly being told na oh sige, recklessly drain out your savings so you
Mm.
can pay this off. Parang there was everything was well thought of, everything was well planned. So even if I had to pay that much amount to officially close that part of my financial journey, parang it didn't feel like I was depleted. It felt, yeah, I felt very empowered. I was also scared na I might yo-yo because my credit card is now clean and ang sarap gamitin ulit. But then, with Coach Nick's question, like how did I get um debt free after that, it was really knowing what I want. Now that I have a clear vision of what I want in X number of years, I want to see myself as this kind of person who lives in this kind of lifestyle. Whenever there are sales, whether that be a course, a nice dress, a nice pair of shoes, a seat sale, parang hindi na ako yung tipong dati na, oh, sige, bibilin ko dahil sale. It's more of like, kahit
Mm.
mag-sale pa yan, hindi ko yan bibilhin kasi hindi naman yan yung gusto ko. That simple decision making or like that simple conversation that you have in your head is very impactful because one of the things that we also unpacked during our calls is that I have the tendency to buy just for the sake of buying or just because everybody else is doing. Ano ako, parang I'm easily influenced. Parang ganon. But like now, that's like the number one reason why I get debt free is because I know what I want and I don't blindly
Mm.
spend anymore. Everything that I purchase now is intentional.
Yeah.
Of course, like I'm not saying that like my financial life is perfect. There's still like some hiccups here and there, but it never brought me back into that era where I was just like swiping cuz this looks cute and it's on sale and I have credit anyway, parang ganon. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we should cheers to that. That old version of
Woo!
you
My
who got you
yogurt
here.
drink.
Cheers.
Woo!
Truly, I am grateful that you trusted in that process, throughout that, because truly all I ever wanted as a coach is to be like that mirror, like to reflect back at you, like, here are the possibilities, here are your choices. Which one do you want? Like what my other client said, it's kind of like, sabi niya, coach, para kang may hawak na flashlight, allowing us to be like, oh, nasa tunnel daw, oh, pili ka, saan mo gusto pumunta, but I'm holding the light
Yeah.
for you. So here are the possible options, and that's the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's what I love about your journey, is that you were empowered to do that. Like, hindi ko sabi, oh, Tish, sigurado ka ba yung gagawin mo? Or like, nag-check out ka ba? Like, parang, I think that's a misconception when it comes to like being disciplined with your finances. It's like, para kang pinapalo na parang, oh, mali yan. Punishment. Parang ganon.
Mm,
Versus like, as you said, that when it comes to paying off your debts, that's what I've noticed, is that when we're so focused on I have to pay off my debts, you don't see like what comes after that. Diba? And if
yeah.
you don't see it, you're like, I don't want to do that. Like, I've already been so attached to my debts. I don't want to let it go. Because that's what I've seen. It's like, that's why you have this painful feeling, is because you are mourning an identity who had that. You're like
Yes.
saying goodbye to
Yeah.
that version of Tish. And if you don't see like what's gonna be you now, who's gonna be the next version, if you don't have a idea of that, it's gonna be hard to let go of like this
For
debts. And
sure.
that's why we had to start off with like, what do you want, who do you want to be, and how can you get there, so that paying off your debts is just part of the process. It doesn't have to be the
Yeah.
goal. It just needs to be like something that you check off, because it's just part
Yeah.
of the stepping stones to get to the life you want. And truly, it's the life that you're living now. Can you like, ooh,
Yeah. Woo!
so us about that.
Yeah.
Like, what are the goals that became reality for you in 2023 up to this day because of having those sustainable habits around money?
The very first one, because this happened during, it happened during our first phase.
Yeah.
The Fund Your Freedom, the first few sessions that we had was my wedding. So we had a debt-free wedding. We were able to have a, it wasn't exactly big, but it was perfect for us. So yun, but another thing is, like the wedding industry now is very big, it's very expensive,
Yep.
and it doesn't have to
Crazy.
be basically.
Yeah.
So because I know what I wanted, and yeah, I know what I wanted and all that. I did not feel like I need to ride into all of these wedding trends, like all these stuff. So I just cherry picked which ones I wanted or which ones I would know I would enjoy and my best friends and family would enjoy. So yun lang. And again, going back to like really knowing what you want, I did not feel pressured to kind of exceed the budget or to do more kasi you know how Filipino weddings are, yung palakihan, pabonggahan, padamihan ng guests and stuff. And it was mind-boggling for my family that we did not invite everybody, that there were only 50 guests, that their friends were not invited, and it I guess it comes with the change. So I was also really lucky that I went through that while we were in our first session, because I was being guided through it also. Na parang I was also being asked like how did I feel about it, and yeah, I remembered also like having to defend my decisions. And I feel like that's part of change because as what Coach Nick said, I guess in her previous videos and her other content, is that we are part of that generation um who's breaking chains, or like who's breaking old habits and stuff. So it seems like such a very like, oh, happy financially free, pero getting there also has its own friction and resistance and challenges, I would say. But yeah, I guess we have to power that through. And I would say that eventually the people around us would understand, and it's a good thing if they do. But then a lot of people also didn't understand, but I also just treated them as noise. A lot of it was money or like mindset related. So yeah, because imagine if you just kind of gave in to what your family said para lang
Mhm.
matapos na. And
Mhm.
that's also one of the things that we unpacked, na a lot of
Yeah.
our bad money decisions started from that mindset na sige na para matapos na. Kasi 'di ba ako personally, when I graduated, yun yung una kong narinig, "Oh, nag-invest ka na ba? May insurance ka na ba? Anong mangyayari sa'yo 'pag nagkasakit ka?" Ganyan, ganyan. Parang, sige na nga, para matapos na mag-i-invest na ako." Parang gano'n. And although it's a good thing na may investment ako, it did not come with a strong foundation. It came from like, sige na nga. Pero it's different again when it's from an empowered decision. So it might not
Mm.
seem like such a big thing, but eventually you can tell the difference once you start making empowered decisions. Now we haven't bought the house yet, but we have moved into a bigger house. There's that. And then I also now have an emergency fund. I'm currently rebuilding it because nag-change inflation, and the my way of living also kind of increased a little. So yeah, so we're rebuilding that. And then yeah, so apart from all those things, we're also responsibly and joyfully planning out the future. And yeah, like I guess that's the reason why I'm always working with Coach Nick, because when you work towards your future, I guess kasi most of us think of the future as something that is super far. Kaya parang okay lang sa'tin na hindi masyadong planuhin like, sige bahala na, because it's so far away. But I guess like another thing that I got from the coaching program is that yes, the future is far, but it's gonna happen eventually, so might as well prepare now. And it doesn't have to be like such a grueling exercise. Right now I'm having so much fun like planning out the future and then setting aside X amount of money each month to kind of sustain it. So all that, since I have those goals and since we're working towards it, it goes back to how I stay debt free, I guess, na parang hindi na ako
Mm.
bumibili ng bags or like shoes, ganyan. Kasi I would rather spend that money towards like the bigger picture things. And at the same time, I don't feel bad as well na ay wala akong bag. Kasi parang it's an empowered decision eh.
Mm-hmm.
Parang yeah, hindi siya yung parang, ay hindi ako pwedeng mag-Starbucks kasi magbabayad pa ako ng insurance na hindi ko naman ginusto. Yung parang ganon. So there's really a difference. And
Mm.
when you're happy kasi when you're doing it becomes effortless. I wouldn't even imagine myself thinking about money this way. Na it's exciting, it's fun.
This journey that you've been through was like really overcoming a lot of the expectations from you growing up na like, oh, I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
this, I need to be this. I remember as the eldest, is it right? Like you're the
Yes.
eldest, diba? As the eldest, para I need to be this, I need to be like that. And it was shedding a lot of like those kinds of expectations and really looking inward of like, what is it really that makes me happy? Because that's where a lot of our money decisions really stem from. That's why I love that you talk about it that way, that there is a way for us to be excited about looking at our financial system, looking forward to it, knowing that this thing that I'm going to do right now is contributing to the future that I want without sacrificing my happiness now. Our finances could actually be like the tool that could give us that peace of mind and reminding us that we can make empowered decisions because and truly isn't that feeling ko, that's what I see what being responsible is. Like, let's redefine
Yeah.
that, going back. Like, what
Yeah.
if being responsible is about being empowered to make your decisions?
Bad. It doesn't have to be like this
Yeah.
painful feeling na, oh, I have to do this. Ganyan. It could be like, yes, I get to do this. This is my responsibility. Yeah.
Since you've looked back and remembering all those feelings, like, what do you see? What are you most proud of to see the difference between the 2021 Tish that I first met and then the Tish that you see today in 2023?
What I'm most proud of is
Mm-hmm.
I get to I get to do things that I want without being so stressed about it. I'm also really proud of the fact na hindi na ako masyadong nagpapadala or nadadala sa mga FOMO because like yun talaga yung weakness ko. I have this thing na gusto ko part ako ng cool people. Like I really want to belong. I have that kind of
Mm.
thing na okay, everybody's buying this pair of shoes. I think I want that too. But then I realized that after I buy it, it's just another pair of shoes. I don't really like the design and parang buyer's remorse or something. But
Mm.
yeah, so I guess like that's one thing that I'm really proud of is that hindi na ako nagpapadala sa ganun. I guess having that sense of awareness there, it's something that I did not expect I would get from a money mindset coach. Parang ganon. Because like I just thought I'm just gonna inisip ko nga like I just need to have a copy of her Excel sheet and then I'll be done. But 1 year later, I'm still here. But yeah, it's really more than that. So I guess like having that a strong sense of self awareness really made me be more responsible and yeah, parang it kind of sounds cheesy also like when you know parang when you get to know yourself blah blah blah, but it's
Mm.
true when I started
Yeah.
really knowing what I like, what matters to me, what doesn't, it became so much easier.
When you messaged me before, when you're like, Coach, sobrang confident na ako maging money manager ng household. Like, I can't believe I'm saying that. So, talk about
Yeah.
that. Like, how did all of that, everything that you've learned, overcome, got you to being that person in the household?
Yeah, because I remember, and I feel like you've also shared your version of this story that when we were younger,
Mm.
hindi naman kami talagang naghirap or like, well, we were middle class, so we didn't really experience like a lot of hardships. Pero there's also a lot of restraints, parang ang tawag dito like pag pumunta sa mall, bawal magturo or something like that or like pag
Mm.
mag-aircon 2 hours lang naka-timer, yung parang
Oh,
ganon.
same, ganun din. Nagkakaroon ako ng anxiety kapag nagising ako tapos hindi ko na timer, my gosh, lagot ako.
Parang paggising mo tapos masarap yung gising mo, hindi ka pinapawisan, parang
Ah,
wait, parang
may
ganon.
mali. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, so like I guess having that in mind, that's something that I wanted to change. Hindi naman sa parang I'm gonna spoil my family or like do whatever they want. It's again, yun nga, putting your money where to the things that you value. So like in our household, my husband and I really love to eat. So um we have more budget for that, parang ganon. And then I guess for other households, they value traveling more, so maybe they have more budget for that. So it's really more of something like that. It's like also having that conversation with my husband. What do we
Mm.
value as a family now. Like having all these kinds of tools that I got from the program, it was easy to kind of like apply it to the household. Ultimately, like the simplicity of the managing aspect. So Coach Nick has like a very simple money management system. So that's something that you're going to learn if you're going to enroll in her program. So I also applied that. I also remember how my parents would have all these complicated ways of saving up and budgeting and stuff. And I guess that's something that I didn't want us to carry.
Mm.
And I understand that that's the kind of system that my parents knew from their time. But now that I'm equipped with more tools, that's something that I wanted to change. Another thing that I learned is that it doesn't have to be something that you dread. It's
Mm-hmm.
a tool for us to live the life that we want. So we're gonna treat it as that. There's enough for emergencies, there's enough for us to have fun, there's enough for us to go try new restaurants, and that's it. We're like happy with that.
I remember the big word that came up when we were reflecting back on your journey was now you realize that I am living a balanced life,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Saktong kayod lang at saktong enjoy din. So, yeah, I guess that's something that I'm really trying to work towards on, because I think that's also one of the misconceptions that we grew up
Mm.
with, that we have to always work hard. When you stop working, things will fall apart. And I guess that's the reason why we save up for emergencies and for all these little enjoyments that we have, so that when we choose to slow down, we don't have to kind of worry na, oh shit, things are gonna fall in the drain. Parang ganon. Okay, I'm gonna out my husband again. I'm sorry. But yeah. So he's planning to have a career change, or parang he's planning to have like this big decision in his career. So I'm very proud to say that even if he's gonna go through that transition himself, we won't find ourselves in like a bad situation, because we were prepared for it. If either of us chooses to kind of rest for a while, we would still float. Hindi kami like,
Mm.
yeah, hindi kami
Malulunod.
magdidildil ng asin or something. Yeah.
You're an example of like because you were able to get clear on what you value, what makes you happy, you're able to stick to a sustainable financial system as a single person, it was easy for you to then transition to a double income household. Like, we think na, oh, double income na, then maybe may kahati na ako, mas madali na. But then, like, you're going to bring the same baggage, the same habits
Yeah.
you don't like if you don't deal with it first as an individual. Because I like to bring that up because sometimes I get inquiries about like, do you coach couples? And
Mm.
like it's so tricky because each person has a different set of goals, of values, of like for example, like you want to like travel somewhere, but then maybe your husband's not into that. Like even my husband, he doesn't
Yeah.
get like, why do you wanna go to like solo travel? I'm like, kasi gusto ko, you know, parang iba yung mga gusto niya, in-out ko na yung husband
Yeah.
ko. Yun yung topic, outing our husband. Yeah. So alam mo yun, like that's why it's so important that be as you said, that's what I loved about you when you went into my program. You're like, I don't want to bring this baggage anymore. Like I have my fiance, we're gonna get married, and I want to make sure that I clear off my debts, I
Yeah.
take care of my money habits, my finances, so that when I become married, it's not something I'm gonna
Clean
worry
slate.
about
Yeah.
anymore. And literally that's the life that you're living now. And it's just so amazing to see that.
I think I sent you a voice message about that. There's this one.
Mm.
So we just moved to our new house, and then parang it's so surreal na like, so we have this thing in coach's program where we list down all our goals, and then I still have a copy of my 2001 goals. It's 2021 goals. And then, yeah. And then parang when you like look back into it and then see that everything is ticked off without sacrificing so much, I would say. Parang, huh, ang saya. Like when you journal and then you
Yeah.
realize like everything that you wished for or everything that you hoped for before is you're kind of now living the dream life. I guess like one of the reasons why I'm always in Coach Nick's program, because like I wanna make sure that it continues, like I wanna keep living that dream life, I would say.
Yeah. Speaking of that, like for those considering investing in my programs, how do you think, since you've gone through the phases, how did you think the one-on-one coaching aspect and the group community aspect really help you in that journey of sustaining the life that you want?
For the one-on-one, I'm of course like it's a self-work kind of thing. And I guess for me, mas ramdam ko yung impact of working on myself first because like I feel like literally after I graduated, I transitioned from being a single woman to a married woman. So
Yeah.
I really saw the difference of like I couldn't have had done this transition smoother if I didn't fix myself first like as a whole,
Mm.
not just I guess the money mindset part of it, but it was a huge part of it. So if I didn't deal with that first, then I it wouldn't be as smooth a transition as to when I became a married woman. So there's that. So that's for the first part. And then for the second naman, I feel like for the second it was actually a fear-based decision cuz and it's something that I'm not ashamed to admit also because as somebody who has been living a certain money mindset for 27, 26 years, parang
Mm.
I inadmit ko naman sa sarili ko na 8 weeks can't fix that entire 27 years. So parang I wanted more support in that sense. And what I got naman from the coaching program is there are times when I would join the coaching program without really any problems, quote unquote. Like I didn't have anything that I want to be coached on. And it was a very humbling experience for me to listen to the other girls that I was with. So, you know how you learn from other people's journey and stories. So that's what I really enjoyed the most. And at the same time, parang when they were raising their own struggles and their own, like I learned from their experience and I think that really contributed to so much that I'm doing now. And then eventually I pursued for like the 6 month container because I also stepped into another phase in my life where before I was a solopreneur and then this year I transitioned into an agency. So I felt like I needed more support in that aspect also since it was a big leap for me. So I guess um feel ko sobrang sakto yung mga phases sa buhay
Oo
ko sa
nga!
mga programs ni Coach Nick. So I'm like, I'm just if it feels right, I'm gonna sign up for it. So yeah. So like
Mm.
right now, Coach Nick and I are mostly working on how I could sustain that new dream life or like the upgraded dream life that
Level
I
up.
have. Yes, the leveled up dream life. So it's not just about making sure that I attain the leveled up dream life. It's also making sure that I address the leveled up problems that comes
Mm.
with a leveled up dream life. So yeah, I guess that's the reason why I really like being coached by Coach Nick because we look at everything in a bigger perspective. And I've also mentioned this to Coach Nick that even if I am more perspective and I listen to myself more now. I also acknowledge the gift of perspective of other people. So there are things that I don't see because obviously I'm more attached to the problems and than she is. So she sees things that I don't see. And to what she mentioned earlier, like what her other client said, that she has this flashlight. Yeah, so she brings that flashlight all the time. So she points it out to like the dark areas that I don't see. So that's kind of like the value, the really that I get from all phases of it. Yeah.
I love how you were able to like do a timeline literally and
Yeah.
truly because of like your experience also that's why I've decided to create that hybrid program of like okay for the first 2 months let's do one-on-one coaching so that you're not distracted of like pag nasa group ka kasi you're like bakit yung ginagawa niya dapat pag ganun rin ako so like that's why it was important for me to be like okay like in the leveled up like fund your freedom program first 2 months first 8 weeks is one-on-one coaching and then the next 3 months would be that group support so you feel like I'm not alone in my journey it's okay for me to say
Yes.
no to this it's okay for me to invest in this she gone through that or he went through that look that's okay like because the moment that we normalize these conversations the more we normalize that we can make hard decisions that lead us to the life that we want and I think you said it really well na you get to be surrounded by people na oh, it's okay to talk about this. Because, I mean, when you think about it, it's
Yeah.
hard to talk about it with like the usual friend groups or relatives.
Yeah.
And that's why it was so important for me that I got to merge that because I saw like how valuable it was for you in your journey.
Yeah, during that time, that was really my goal because at that time I felt like I was the only one who was sort of aware that a money mindset coach is a thing or like ganon. So
Yeah.
now that I sort of got through that certain part of my life, I wanted to keep on having that kind of conversation. And at that time in my friend group, nobody really gets. But like right now, I'm happy because like I pushed all of them to join your your program. So I feel like now ang dami ko nang makakausap. I'm like, yo, how is it? Yeah. So like I pushed I think all my friends to your program. Like I could name all of them. Before I was kind of hesitant to be in a group setting because it's money, it's taboo, it's personal. But one thing that I learned also, when you really talk about when you
Mm.
give yourself the permission to be vulnerable about that kind of conversation, you also subject yourself to an environment where you can learn so much. And one of the things that I really appreciated is, so the girls that I was grouped with, they were going through a lot of different things. And even if I didn't go through the struggles that they've been through, I feel like I was able to gain the knowledge that they learned from those things. Yeah, it was definitely like one of the best experiences, I would say, like one of the best coaching experiences that I've received.
I'm so happy. Like whenever you say that, I'm like, that's all I've ever wanted. Truly, is that like every container, like literally you've been through, is something that has been impactful, something that's beneficial to you. And truly, as what you said, a lot of the things that hold us back are things that we need to unlearn from what has been taught to us. And in order to unlearn those things, we need to be surrounded by people who are in the same path as you, who are also
Yeah.
breaking those norms, who are breaking those toxic mindsets or thoughts around money, because only then where your brain is gonna be like, huh, they're doing that too, so keep going. Like you can keep going, doing what you want, going after what's true to you. It's so so valuable to be able to hold that space for you, for my clients in that container, because we are setting that example for the next generations to come. Not even the next generation, but literally the people around us, that this is the standard. This is the standard that we can talk
Yeah.
about money, we can be in control of money, and enjoy responsibly. So thank you so much, Tish,
Yeah.
for your time. Oh my
Of
gosh.
course.
More wins to come with you, more breakthroughs to come for sure. So, guys, nakita niyo naman yung podcast mic ni Tish, because please introduce yourself, what you do, and like where they can find you, because I'm sure they're like, her voice is so calming and relaxing. Like I need to hear more of that.
Yeah. So my name is Tish, if you haven't got that yet. So my name is Tish. I'm a podcast manager, and I help entrepreneurs kickstart their podcast and use their voice to bring their message to more people. And I also have my own podcast. It's called Spill the Creativity Podcast, and you can follow that account. It's at Spill the Creativity Podcast. Coach Nick is one of my first few guests in that one. So if you don't know which episode to listen, you can start with that. It's a good place to start off. So yeah, I'm so happy that I get to be a part of the people Coach Nick brings into her YouTube channel. And if you're curious about her whole program, I think I pretty much spilled everything. So it's a really good program. So go and be part of the wait list na, because it gets filled so fast. Going back kanina, I push all of my friends to join.
Yung buong barkada ni Tish, freelancer group ni Tish, like, I've coached all of them, and I'm so grateful na they're like, Tish, kasi keep saying na parang it's so good talaga, like, I'm gonna invest talaga, ganyan, ganyan. And so, thank you
And guys,
for,
hindi ako nahihiyang i-plug kasi hindi like, wala pang isa akong friend na nanghinayang. So I'm like, okay, sabi ko sa'yo eh.
thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you so much, Tish. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. And I'm so
Aw.
excited to witness more of your breakthroughs together. See ya. See ya.
Yeah. See ya. Thanks, coach.